This signalman's dream, the modern control center, such as the one operated by the 65th Fighter Wing, is an amazing meeting place of communications. In order to understand the discussion of control that follows, you have to know about all these phones and radios to appreciate what the controllers had to work with. We originally intended to put in here a complete description of the whole business, but when we got in written, there were 18 pages of the sort of stuff only signalmen could read with much of a thrill. So look in Appendix A for the details. Here's the layout briefly in non-technical language. You already understand that the basic communication with the fighter pilots was on our 4 VHF channels. A for operations, B for air/sea rescue, C for fighter-bomber intercom, and D for fixing. 4 radio use, every pilot and every formation was identified with a call sign prescribed in signal operating instructions issued by the 8th Air Force. One word, e.g. horseback, identified the group leader flying the mission. Another, e.g. cobweb, identified each squadron. Individual pilots had permanent numbers to be used with their squadron word, as cobweb 46. On operations, however, separate flights within a squadron were labeled cobweb white, etc., and individuals were called by the positions they flew as cobweb white 4 or cobweb green 2. 65th Fighter Wing's control call sign was Colgate. In the latter part of the war period earlier, it had been Morelight, Tackline, Jackknife, Warsun, and others. The other wings and all station flying controls had their own call signs. In the ops room, individual controllers handled each of the 15 group A channels, each of the 4 C channels, each of the 2D channels, and the B channel. There was also an operator to handle the conference line, which was kept open to Pine Tree, and to Nut House for rapid exchange of information. Overall reigned the chief controller, sitting up top like a king surveying his realm. He had a deputy and a Y service staff controller to assist him, and 4 ops B clerks to handle the return details. Because there were so many A and C channel positions, they had to be set up on 2 levels, stretching clear across the room. To keep in touch with all of them, the chief controller employs 2 rover controllers, one on each deck, who would walk up and down the lines getting information and giving instructions. Their phone sets had long cords suspended from above to permit free movement. Their common circuit was always open, and both could hear or talk to the chief controller at any time. The chief had as many telephone and radio keys as a cathedral pipe organ has stops. He could listen in on any A, C, or D channel at any time and take over if necessary. There was plenty of telephone business, too, both within the ops room and out from it. Flying control at each of the fighter bases was coordinated through wing ops, local flights within a specified radius of the field being the only ones not cleared in this way. 1,001 details of the missions had to be handled by phone, including responsibility of notifying the British air defenses of all routes and timings. Ops B, conveniently placed next to the chief controller's dais. Practically all this routine business for him. The ops room communications officers always had his hands full setting up all the positions to give each controller the phone and radio connections designed by the chief controller for the particular mission. To do this conveniently, he had a place of business in the upper rear corner of the ops room, where the chief controller could talk to him and give him instructions. A changeover panel, a rack of telephone jacks into which all the various lines were wired, permitted the communications officer to connect up almost any position in the ops room with the desired lines, merely by plugging in patching cords as in a switchboard. This flexibility was very important because radio requirements often changed in mid-mission, and control of particular group might have to be shifted to a more suitable forward relay line. This could be done at any time without delay. All the positions in the ops room originating mission information of use to anyone else were connected in some way to the status board on the front wall. Facts were phoned to the status clerk and chalked up by him where all could see. Weather information was handled in the same way on another board, kept up to the minute by weather officers on duty in the upper room. The detailed layouts of the all-important fixture nets, triangulation tables, and control boards of D and B channels are described in Appendix A. All we need to say about them here is that they always worked because pilots' lives depended on them working. Royal Observer Corps and RAF radar plots were received on direct lines from British filter centers to be plotted on the main table in a standard way described in Chapter 2. Direct telephone lines connected Saffron with other stations and switching centers all over southeastern England. As explained and diagrammed in Appendix A, some of these were admin lines and some were ops. Most controlled business was conducted over their ops circuits. Wing talked to its own 5 groups directly, and to the other 10 via the switchboards at Sawston and Walcott Halls. An equally extensive teleprinter network existed throughout the 8th, see Appendix A for diagram, and field orders from Pine Tree were received in this way both by Air Division and by fighter wings. In the wing teletype rooms, there were relayed on broadcast circuits to the groups, and at Saffron the control section received copies just as soon as any of the groups had them. There was also a special teletype network for the all-important weather report. The above is certainly a quick cook's tour of an extremely complex communications layout, and you are again reminded of the details in Appendix A. This, however, ought to give you all the background you need to handle the discussion which follows.